Thank you, Kristian. I'm Margaret Wood. I'm the owner's project manager for the Holyoke Schools project. And you've heard from Dorrie and Kristian, who are both part of the design team. My role on the project is to be an extension of the City of Holyoke and the school department in managing the project. So I am responsible, and I'm going to talk about managing the schedule and the budget for the project. And I want to start that discussion out by talking about where the money for a project like this comes from. Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has an entity called the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and you'll hear it referred to as the MSBA. The MSBA was created in 2004, and it with the intention of equitably funding school projects across the Commonwealth based on a penny of our sales tax. So for instance, for every dollar that you spend, you pay 6.25%, 6.25 cents is sales tax, and a penny of the 6.25% sales tax is going in a pot statewide. And then communities apply on a competitive basis for that funding. And the competitive basis is need. So the need is both the level of human need in the community as well as the level of the condition of the buildings in the community. So Holyoke is a situation where there's both a very high human need in terms of kids who are coming from underprivileged backgrounds, as well as having a lot of buildings which are in very poor condition. And as Dorrie mentioned earlier, the MSBA has, in this case, agreed with the recommendation of the building committee to fund two buildings in parallel. So this slide is pulled from the MSBA website, and it tells a little bit about the really amazing success that they have had in this funding program. It's fueled a real renaissance in the state since 2004 in funding projects like Holyoke's. So for example, some projects you will have heard about in neighboring communities in the Valley are listed here on this slide. Granby, East Hampton, most recently, South Hadley, Ludlow, Springfield, West Springfield, and Chicopee. Those projects have all been funded with MSBA, partially with MSBA dollars. And in this case, we've made an effort to provide a sense of comparison of the costs. It's important to remember that each of these projects that's noted here is a single building project, and in the case of Holyoke, we're actually building two buildings as proposed. So how much will the project in Holyoke cost? The proposal, this slide explains a little bit of the background. On the right, you'll see a very high-level summary of the numbers. The cost of the Chestnut project is in the first column, and of the Peck project is in the second column. The Peck project is a more expensive project because although the buildings are fundamentally the same, it also includes the demolition of the existing Peck school in order to make a new school on that site. And in this particular case, going back to how the MSBA determines its share, we're estimating that the MSBA's share of this project is about 60%. So the city will pay 40%, the MSBA will pay 60%. And what that means, if you drill down through the spreadsheet to the bottom, is that the total value, the total city share for both projects is a hair under $55 million. A question that any taxpayer has looking at something like this is, what is the cost to me? So this slide attempts to get at that. The typical way, it's not the universal way, but the typical way that these projects are paid for is through a bond, and it can be of shorter or longer duration, but in this case, the most cost-effective bond seemed to be a 30-year bond. What has been proposed is what's called a debt exclusion vote. So this is a vote that the community would take that would allow a particular project for a defined amount of money to be bonded for over, in this case, a course of 30 years. And then everyone's share of that is embedded in their tax rate. So for the 30-year period, taxpayers would pay their share of the bond. At the end of the 30 years, that additional cost would disappear from the tax rolls. So in this case, we have estimated, with the help of the city's financial advisor, longtime financial advisor, an increase to the residential rate of $1.31 per thousand and to the commercial rate of $2.72 per thousand. To put that into, lots of people can do this math in their head, I can't, but just to put it into the terms of an average, I understand that the average cost of a home in Holyoke is around $182,000, or call it $183,000, which is the example given in the center of the slide. In that case, the annual cost per year for that typical home would be $240. And again, that is $240 a year for 30 years, and then the debt is completely goes away. The city council has been looking at other possibilities for either funding this or reducing the cost of the obligation over time. It's a little too complicated to get into here, but I will say that this proposal about the bonding is pretty typical of what neighboring communities have done. And I encourage you to participate in the discussion about this. The next steps on this are for the city council to come to an agreement about how they do want to fund it, and if it is a debt exclusion vote, to establish a date for the debt exclusion vote. So last, before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit about the schedule. This is a very high-level picture of where we are. As some folks mentioned earlier, we started the study phase, which is really a requirement of the MSBA funding, in the beginning of 2018. And that study has a couple of different phases, but essentially, we've just completed what's called schematic design for both buildings. Schematic design phase is really important here. It's a relatively preliminary phase, but the requirement on the consultants, which is Jones Whitsett as well as myself as the owner's project manager, is to arrive at an estimated cost for the project, which can be the basis of the funding agreement, i.e. our job is to identify all the reasonably anticipated costs and to also provide a cushion within the budget of contingencies for things that come up over the course of the project. And that earlier slide, which described the total project budget, is the number that has been proposed to the MSBA. So now there is a gap shown on the schedule as the city kind of comes to terms with how they want to finance it and hopefully moves ahead with the local authorization for funding. And then we will commence as soon as that is done, assuming that the city supports the project. We would begin what's called the development of the design and the construction documents, which is the yellow phase that's shown here. And that would go through the fall of 2020, at which time we would be bidding the project. The gray bar is the bidding phase. And all of that is in order to get us into construction at the very end of 2020, with the goal of having both of these buildings complete in the summer of 2022 and online for the academic year 2022-2023. As you can see here, the Pinck project is shown as having a slightly longer duration, and again, that's because of the demolition. I want to give a nod to the building committee members. So I came on board on the project in the summer of 2017. And the folks who are on the building committee are listed here. Devin Sheehan, who is also on the school committee, is the chair of the building committee. Other members are folks both at the city level and at the Holyoke Public School level, and have brought a wide range of skills, including knowledge of education, knowledge of building engineering and design, and last but not least, Dr. Zreich, who is the superintendent, has been a major part of that, and it is his vision of what the district can do with these middle schools, which has really helped us define the project. So thank you for listening to and looking at the slides that we have presented here. I want to just, in closing, say thank you to the listeners and thank you to those who have participated in the process so far. It's been a very robust and interesting conversation. And obviously, it's a very important project for the city. There is an opportunity, which is listed here, to continue to follow the project and learn more about it. There's quite a lot of additional detailed information online. And I hope that you will come out to the upcoming discussions about the project and be in touch with us about your thoughts about the project. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, we're all done.